Hey everyone, how you doing? Everyone might literally be one, but I'm not one to dodge a request. Anyway, I didn't really feel like doing the daunting task of sort of trying to sound remotely interesting in front of sort of like a blank microphone. So I'm gonna Markiplier it up a little bit, and I'm just gonna like enjoy a little session of American Truck Simulator. Um, I hope you'll enjoy. I'm not gonna do a live commentary on the nothing that's gonna happen in this little video game. I just want something a bit therapeutic. Look, it's been a long week, alright? I had like a stress stream last night about like my teeth falling out. Which sounds more like mentally ill than I meant. I'm a little Bank's a little tired, guys, alright? So I need a little bit of a little bit of key jangling to feel at my best. And one of my favorite all-time meditative key jangling games is American Truck Simulator, which is as simple as it sounds. It's a game about driving a truck from one place to the other. There's also a lot of like, running a successful business. But like, I'm a socialist. I don't understand money. I don't care about any of that. My dad's a trucker. I never got along with him very well, but maybe there's something in my blood that drives me to this. That was kind of bad on my end on that one. Don't worry about it. Don't comment about the driving. All right? It's not about any real gameplay skills. This isn't Fortnite. All right? Calm down. Now, I've always been very fascinated by like emptiness in games, which sounds like a little bit pretentious or stupid. That depends on like what your starters is, right? But like, I remember about 8 years ago, I was playing an emulated version of Penn and Teller's like old like joke game they made back in the '90s, where one of the modes you could play was a game called what was it called? It was called Desert Bus, and it was literally just like driving on a straight road from what is it, California to Vegas, and just nothing happens, but you have to keep swaying the steering wheel and like keep the acceleration on, otherwise you'll get towed all the way back to the beginning, and it takes like 4 hours to get there, and your reward at the end is driving all the way back. And I didn't complete the 8-hour drive, but I completed like 4 hours with like friends backing me up. I did not just sit and rot away looking at that. And I don't know, I found it weirdly meditative. I thought it kind of hit something in my little pea brain. And I kind of get the same thing here, except it's not as tedious and it looks pretty. It looks pretty at times. But when it doesn't look pretty, I feel like it at least looks interesting. One of my favorite things is using like the photo mode to like find those like weird little details that they don't want you to look at, like the weird polygonal people, and the off chance that like you find one of the older models for like an animal, like a cow, just looking like a little funny. Anyway, that's enough of the gaming talk. No one wants to hear that shit. I hope you've been doing well. I've been doing so-and-so. I don't really remember much of what I talked about last time, other than me relentlessly talking about Bob Dylan. I could do that a little bit, too. I actually saw him last week live in Copenhagen, believe it or not. And it was kind of a magical experience. I mean, he's old, and it was old man music at that point, right? But it was special. I had my best friend and my girlfriend. We sort of made a day out of it. It was an awful day. I'm an islander, so that means I had to take the ferry, and the ferry was delayed by 6 hours by the increments of like 30 minutes. So I was like, fuck, I'm not gonna make it. I'm never gonna see Bob. He's gonna fucking die. Luckily, I did see him, and he did not die. But what an arrogant prick. I love Bob Dylan as like an artist. But like, he just waddled on stage, and I am, for one, very impressed that, despite his piano skills not being that good anymore, and that's like most of what he does, he just sits down for most of the performance. His singing is great. Like, he he can still do that. Now you could obviously argue that he's never been able to sing, so obviously it's not that surprising that he hasn't lost it. But no, he did some really like he held some notes, man, and I don't know, it felt special. It felt like seeing a white rhino or something. It was really neat. And I think he said 2 things the entire show. There was one time after like a song where you could kind of hear him go, "Thank you." And then there was a little comment. I don't know if that counts as like him saying something to the audience. But when he goes like, "Did I shoot somebody?" Then he goes like, "I hope not." Like, which, you know, felt like a comment. I felt like he spoke to me specifically. And that was really cool. Then he got a standing ovation after, and again, 84 years old, no backup singers, no nothing, just him singing for like 70 minutes-ish. I think he sang like at least 15 songs. Like all by himself, and every time the audience was like, "Yes!" Like when he was doing like, "It's All Over Now," "Baby Blue," or like "Desolation Row," and he gives them like 2 seconds to applaud until they start the next song, which, you know, I think that's pretty funny. I don't know. There was an old lady walking out and was like, "Well, it wasn't really anything you could dance to," which, like, that's true. It's hard to groove your shit to Key West, but like there were times where I noticed like the old guy next to me was like just closing his eyes, just like vibing with it. And you know what? I kind of agree. It was a little bit like that. And that was kind of divine in its own right. In its own fucking right, man. But no. I remember in the queue when I was standing in line to get in, there was like this, I assume couple, and they weren't like siblings, but like, you know, just follow with me for the story, where one of them was dressed in like a fiddler cap and a corduroy coat, like looking like Bob Dylan on his debut album, where he's like 20 years old and holding a guitar, and then the other one was wearing a wide brim hat with like a flower in it, and I just like looked behind me and went like, "Hey, you're the debut album and you're Desire," on account of Bob Dylan's 1975-6 album Desire, where he is wearing similar wardrobe. That's the one where he goes like, "Hot chili peppers in the blistering sun." You know what I mean? Which is, it's not my favorite album. It's really iconic. He does say the N-word in it, but he literally did it to save a man's life. I'm sorry. That's a bunch of hogwash from a guy like me. Oh man, what a year, huh? What a time it's been. What a lot of things. I'm kind of like always afraid. I remember there was a time, not afraid like in general, about like recording these, because this isn't the only attempt I've made in like the last year. I think I had at least 2 other times where I was kind of like thinking, "Oh, I should do this." That's what I'm afraid of. Not afraid, just in general. I don't have like a generalized anxiety disorder, for all I know. But now it's so hard to conceptualize like being interesting or like having anything of any value to talk about. And then I also remember, well, who cares? There's like one person that's probably gonna listen to it, like maybe. And like worst case scenario, I post an obscure video that like kind of bores like some lady I barely know called Imogen. Which, you know, that's not that bad. If anything, that's kind of nice, because that means like an emotion still went out there. Most people that would ever post anything online, they risk just like not even boring anyone. Like it's just ignored. And I say to be bored is better than to be ignored. And if you're bored and ignored, I'm pretty sure that's a porn subreddit, if I had to guess. Oh man, Reddit porn, that's a scary world, man. I don't know. I mean, I guess all porn is like scary once you think about it, but like Reddit? I mean, I guess you could go like, I think Reddit is always scary, but I don't think that's true. If you go to like, okay, maybe not like r/gaming, that's a pretty scary place, I'll give you that. Go to like r/ my immediate thought was meth. No, that's a bad one. That one is scary. That one's sad too. r/soda. That gets some attention, right? The one where they're just like, had this cream soda while reading my X-Men comic book. Love those guys. They're adorable. That's like a nice place. That makes me feel like I'm reading a forum with like real people in it that have like an inner world and like a connected life. At least more than like Twitter, which I still use more than I ever used Reddit, which I don't know why. It seems like a mistake on my end, you know. Not just for like the management. The management, that's pretty bad. That is probably the worst part of it, but I mean, it was always kind of bad. I think social media is like bad for me, for everyone. I should probably not use it, but like, but ain't it a little fun? I was reading an interesting article. Sorry, I'm kind of like speeding ahead. Not in the game. I'm driving below the speed limit, kind of. But I read an interesting article about, this sounds stupid, but it was called, like, The World of Gooning or something, where the journalist was, like, doing a deep dive into, like, the culture online surrounding, like, constant masturbation, I guess. And I think he made some very interesting points in it, where he's, like, he's really put off by it. Like, he's very frightened by the world he's investigating, talking to these, like, 19-year-olds with, like, the most fried brains, watching, like, porn music videos to, like, very specific niche stuff, doing, like, what do they call it? Like, I'm sorry, this is so crude. They were doing, wank battles, where they're, like, like, they're showing other guys, like, awesome goon fuel, and then the other guys rate how good they are at, like, supplying them. And the journalist, the writer, he wrote about, like, trying one of these wank battles where, like, he said one of them was pretty nice about it. When he said something they weren't really into, he was a little condescending, going, not quite my thing, but thank you. Where the other one was, like, just entitled, as though, like, this guy's entire life was just dedicated to give him, like, goon fuel. What is this guy asking word? No, there's a whole world out there. Oh no, a roadblock in the game. In case you're, like, second screening me. Alright. I mean, in this game you could just kind of, like, roll through it. Oh, never mind. I just looked at the map. I could easily pass through that. Oy, oy, oy. Scary stuff. Anyway. But he came to this conclusion where he's like, alright, like, obviously, this stuff is messed up and scary. Oops. Did a little collision there. Obviously, this stuff is really messed up and scary, but is it really that different from, like, the way all social media encourages behavior from us, right? Like, these people rot away for several hours in front of a screen, being invested in, like, fake friends and, like, micro celebrities and, like, you know, doing all this stuff that's, like, mangling their brain. But, like, isn't that just generally scrolling, and perhaps they're just more honest because they have, like, their cocks out? Like, they are embracing the animalistic decline of mass media. And, you know, that's still bad, but can you really point the finger? And, like, I guess the answer is, like, a little bit, but there is a point to it. Like, it's a larger issue. Like, obviously, part of it is, like, porn availability and, like, having a generation of unsocialized people, and how lockdown, like, furthered, like, you know, discovering sexuality and framing sexuality simply within the existence of widely accessible hardcore pornography that you would usually need to, like, get through, like, a fucking specialized store or something. And how, you know, the digital era sort of makes it so, like, a lot of young people might not be able to really identify the difference between an online person that you're in contact with that has, like, a similar interest and a friend. Like, that might mean the same thing to some younger people. Like me, because I'm 24, so I'm also that demographic, kinda, but, like, I like to think I have, like, a reasonable social life and sex life and, like, an inland empire that exists beyond just my screen. Even though I'm recording a little commentary track to a Discord server I lurked on for a few years. I hope everyone's doing well on the mentioned Discord server, the Comfy Cozy Creative Corner. I hope Greg is doing well. And still has like the dog profile picture. That'd be nice. I remember he once promised me in chat that he would read a philosophy book written by oh, I almost said Max Steiner. That's the guy that did like old movie soundtracks. I'm talking about Max Stirner, or Stirner, the German sort of proto-nihilist, absurdist philosopher. His important book, The Ego on Its Own, which is an exercise in understanding how power is framed through whoever's in charge, and challenges the reader to be able to view the entire world as though they are at the very center of it, to sort of find a position of entertaining moral relativism. Now you might go like, fuck you, I hate nihilism, what if I killed you, would that be nice? And like, no, I'm not a nihilist. I'm just saying I think it's a good, I don't know, mental exercise a little bit to fuck with Stirner? Stirner, I don't know. Only problem is, of course, like it's not necessarily an easy read, because it's an early 1800s philosophy book translated from German by a guy that is, I always read it this way, he's kind of fucking with you. A little bit. You might read it as him actually being like a psycho, but, you know, even if that was the case, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Like, have you ever read The Prince by Machiavelli, excuse me? That's like one of the funniest books of all time. I remember I had this, back in, let's call it high school. I know there's the stigma of any time a European says high school, it's when they were 28 and going to like a university or something. It's either like 3rd grade or a community college. But look, I guess it was the equivalent of a community college line, where this guy in his early 30s, like a sober alcoholic that I would hang out with a lot, we'd talk about like philosophy and such. He was like the son of some anthropologist, and he traveled around, and then he got like monstrously like drunk and depressed, and then he sobered up during Christmas, and ever since he dressed up as Santa Claus all of December and like made an effort to be really nice to people. One of the most arrogant motherfuckers I've ever met, but kind of delightful. Anyway, he's also the one that lent me his copy of The Ego on Its Own. But I remember he also we talked about like Machiavelli and his famous little book there, and he told me that like, this is actually great if you want to like read it as dating advice. It's the funniest thing ever. Which, you know, I don't know about that, buddy. I don't know about that. Hey, buddy. Hey, I pointed at him. I said, buddy, are you sure? And frankly, well, he looked a fool. He looked quite the fool. I remember he invited me to a birthday party. Not just like his birthday party, and then when I arrived like a month later, like not after, you know, he invited me in advance, thank you, right? I just kind of walked in, and like his house sucks, to be honest, with respect. Like it's not the house, but like he's not the cleanliest guy in the world. Anyway, so I walk in, and then he looks over like his chair, and he goes like, oh yeah, there's another one I forgot I invited. I almost left at that point, but whatever. It was kind of fun. Oh, man. What a fucking asshole. Even if that's true, you shouldn't tell me right to my face as I walk in that you forgot you invited me. Because look at this beautiful landscape. You don't have to, actually. If you're, like, doing something else, drawing, or, like, playing Minecraft with mods, or, like, whatever you kids do. I've been watching a bunch of movies this year, by the way. It's sort of been my thing. It's been my catch-up year. Like, to the point where I think I might have seen, like, more movies than, like, there's been days in the year so far. and I still like managed to like get work done. But like honestly, if you just kind of forego video games, movies are like insanely doable, man. It's like 90 minutes to like maybe 2 hours and 20, you know, and then you just sort of you just look at it and you go, this is nice, or you go, this is challenging. Whew, I should go to bed, and then there you go. Feels good. I watched the 1976 movie Silver Streak by Arthur Hiller, starring Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor and some other guys like Ned Beatty and so on and so on. And I'm pretty fond of movies from the 70s. This one wasn't that great. I really like the Arthur Hiller movie The In-Laws with Alan Arkin and Peter Falk, but Silver Streak, that was a little much for me. It was kind of like a Hitchcock parody. They're on a train and there's like a murder, and like it's just a baffling trip, but also maybe it's a little dated. I don't know. It's got like Gene Wilder being and hey, we like Gene Wilder, right? The everyone's favorite Willy Wonka, but he also does blackface in the movie because Richard Pryor, I mean, it's like wrote part of the movie, so it's like I think it'd be funny if the white boy has to look black, and oh man, I squirmed, man. I felt like such a... You ever look at, like, older stuff that kind of, like, you know, was pushing some sensibilities, but maybe not responsibly, and you just feel so much that you're born in, like, the 2000s, and you just get that, like, oh, man, I'm too woke for this. No. It's a good time, though. I really, like, you really do see some stuff where you just go, like, damn, where's this shit been hiding all my life? I really like this movie called The Gray Fox, starring Richard Farnsworth, who's this, like, pleasant old man that looks both like a newly hatched bird and also like a nice old grandpa. And it's him playing, like, this bank robber based on the real guy, Bill Miner. Who just loved, like, well, no, not a bank robber, a stagecoach robber. And then he went to prison for, like, 30 years and got out, like, at the early 20th century. And then he's like, there are no stagecoaches. I'm gonna watch, like, one of those, like, silent movies about guys robbing a train, and then I'm just gonna do that and rob trains because I love robbing. But he's, like, the gentleman bandit. So he doesn't kill people. He's just, like, a really lovable little guy, but he's also, like, he's got some edge to him. And it just rocks. It's a really cute movie. It's maybe a little slow. Hey, if you're checking your phone, maybe skip this one. But if you're into a little bit of a cute little old man adventure set in like Canada to some like Irish folk music, check out The Gray Fox. It's a real treat. Hey, it's a real treat, and this one's for you. I don't know why I said that. And look out here, nothing. Did the American landscape, you might be wondering, you know, like, I'm obviously European, you can kind of tell because it sounds like I'm sort of baking a potato in the back of my throat, but I think this, like, there's a reason I went for American Truck Simulator instead of European Truck Simulator, and it's because I love the vastness of, like, the open, flat country where, like, you're so isolated, right? Like, I'd still love to go to the US and, like, see just what it's like to be that far in country, you know? Because I'm an islander. I'm, like, used to growing up a place where, like, what the hell? I can't even see the ocean, you know? So just, like, being out here, I think I'm a little bit agoraphobic, and there might be, like, some catharsis in experiencing that kind of shock, you know? Just nothing out there. But also it's, like, old and kind of gorgeous, especially like for a Danish boy like me, where like it might, you know, the Danish countryside is, I'm not gonna talk trash, and I like where I live, but the mainland, I mean, it earns its reputation for being kind of flat and boring. Not gonna lie. Hey, did you guys see the news? This is like the scariest part about like doing these, where it's like, do I talk about, like, current events? Because, like, my heart tells me no. That seems like a bad idea. Because anytime someone I don't really know is talking about current events, I want to die. But also, like, it's relevant. I know what you're talking about. You know? A lot of people might relate more to if I went, like, You guys hear about the East Wing? Instead of like talking about like Bob Dylan. But also one is way less like depressing. You know? I think so. Maybe. Unless you're really invested in like the relationship between like Bob Dylan and Joan Baez, but somehow I doubt it. Wait, hold on. I gotta make sure that like I'm good on time, man. Like I gotta like get something to eat, and I gotta do this and that. Yeah, I'm good. Hey, it's good. Hey, we're doing fine, man. I got a little session today. That's what us gamers call it. I'm running a little role-playing game with some friends over the Cord because everyone plays D&D over Discord now. Except I don't play D&D. I actually play Savage Worlds. It's a little different, buddy. We roll a little different than you D&D heads. Okay, it's a different thing. I haven't run a game before, so that was like it's really fun. It's really cool. Set in the 1920s. I just mega burped. Oh, that's disgusting. Anyway, it's set in 1924 in Illinois. Not quite in Chicago. I made up like my own city to avoid stepping too much on existing history, while also like getting to use it a little bit, like you know, as a starter. And it's about like scamming people and like pulling off like heists. And so far, it's a lot of fun. We're doing the first like real big pull where they gotta steal like some like Rolls Royce cars from some out of town mobsters, and ooh, a lot of shit. I got some stuff prepped. I got a fun little system because Savage Worlds comes with a something called like the Benny system, which basically it's like old slang for like money, bennies. But in this case, it's just like you earn yourself a reroll, or you go like, I don't want to be in the damage state in combat, so I want to use a Benny. And the way you usually earn them is by like tickling the DM, not literally, but you know, like that's funny. You earn a Benny for that. The problem is, I'm really bad at doing that. Like I'm focusing on my own stuff. I got like a whole game planned. So I introduced a system where I just give them little challenges, and then they like turn them in. And it's not even like, it's just like, some of them are fire your gun, have a cup of coffee, convince the other player to do a thing, fish for a compliment, like stuff like that, just to motivate some behavior and avoid like dead air, because it's a very conversational game. I've never enjoyed combat too much. Bang, why are you running a Savage Worlds game if you don't like combat? Why are you being mean, but it's in my video? Think about that. Hey, you're in the fucking passenger seat, alright? I'll leave you at the side of the road, man. Good luck hitchhiking out here, buddy, alright? No one picks up hitchhikers anymore. They haven't done that since like the late 60s because of the Manson family, bitch. I think. I don't know. I've never hitchhiked. Maybe it's awesome. Probably not. I mean, it's like, it probably goes like both ways in being afraid of being killed by the other one, or being annoyed. Which, like, one thing is picking up someone and being afraid that they're like a psycho, the other one is them just being like really obnoxious. Woody Allen, man. That's not topical. That's old hat news. You know, everyone would rather talk about like Charlie Kirk getting slimed by a white man. Actually, I'm gonna be a little edgy right here. I have a friendly little Discord server where I hang with a bunch of my internet buddies, and we had like a member that was on for maybe like 8-9 months that they met through like some role play environment, and I don't know. I talked to him maybe like 5 times, and then when Kirk died, I like put out a little voice note where I went like, look, he was a bad guy, but like not losing any sleep over that shit, you know, like kind of being I was being a little bit, I'll give it, I was not like celebrating it going like yes, you know, but I think it's okay to at least go like, look, I don't think vigilante justice is the greatest way to like fix the current issues, but also like damn. Also, like, sharing the, like, dad video was fucking scary. Like, that... I watched it, and I don't know why I watched it. I guess maybe some part of me thought that there would be some kind of catharsis in seeing, like, an evil man die. But shit, man, when you see it, it's just watching a human die. Like, he's a bad guy, but, like, there's no, like, I don't know. Maybe I passed, like, an empathy test or something. There's like, I don't know. That freaked me out a little bit. But anyway, like, him getting critical shot like an Unreal Engine and, like, blowing up into 1,000 meaty chunks like that. Ooh. Anyway, so this guy, he got really, like, apparently really offended by me being a little bit callous about it, so he just left. He just left the server and told my friend, like, hey man, like, you're chill, but, like, I can't hang out here anymore. This guy is, I don't like him at all, and I don't see how, like, he can joke about a husband and father getting getting killed. And, like, you know, my buddy was, like, playing on the defense, going, no, Bank's a good guy, and, you know, he's really progressive. Like, maybe he's just a bit, what is, like, he lacks tact sometimes, but he's a good guy. Like, you've misunderstood him. And, like, I don't really care that much. It freaked me out a little bit because, like, he wasn't the most active member, and him, like, going, when I read chat and I see this guy talking, I get all, like, you know, I just get in a bad mood. Like, damn, I didn't know the lurkers were, like, reading my private messages to my friends and going, like, this piece of shit. Like, I'm not a sovereign citizen with, like, a private, you know, press. I'm a guy shitposting to my Discord server. You know, I didn't realize that, like, the peanut gallery was paying attention to me. And that kind of shook me up a little bit, like, thinking, damn, there was, like, a guy getting, I don't know, like, getting sick of my ass. Which, like, that's fine. I don't really need everyone to like me, but it was a little scary, you know? I don't mean to... I mean, like, I don't even think that guy was, like, a bad egg too much or something. Like, we disagreed on, you know, the tact one should have when a neo-Nazi gets killed very publicly. Right, like, you know, 5 seconds before he gets lionized for, like, 3 weeks in the media. But, like, other than that, like, I didn't think he was that bad. He showed up for a movie night where we watched Age of Innocence by Martin Scorsese, and he, like, didn't like it. Which I think is, like, insane. Like, that definitely put him down in my book. Because, like, dude, when Michelle Pfeiffer and Daniel Day-Lewis hold hands in the carriage, man, I don't know. Like, when he's so desperate about, like, you know, losing out on love, and he's thinking, like, maybe my wife, Winona Ryder, could, you know, die young, and, like, and then he immediately goes, like, fuck, that's sick, why am I thinking that? And, like, I remember this fellow going, like, what the hell? He wants to kill her? This guy sucks. Why doesn't he just... I just, come on. Guys, when Scorsese makes a movie about unrelatable fucking, like, psychopath mobsters, yes! Guys, when he makes a movie that's, like, 30 minutes shorter about, like, a guy in high society New York being, like, incapable of pursuing his true love. What the hell? Why does he do this? I can't relate to this. Okay, but you can relate to, like, Joe Pesci, like, killing that guy for fun? Joe Pesci literally shot little, what's his name? Michael Imperioli in Goodfellas. For no reason. Other than, like, his ego. That was fucked up. And I like Goodfellas. But I don't like it as much as I like Age of Innocence. And I'm not saying it has to, like, you know, one has to beat the other for me to, like, want to hang out with you. I'm just saying you gotta admit Age of Innocence is, like, kind of magical. It's so, especially because it's such a weird movie for Scorsese in the 90s. That was, like, his weird exploitation film era. He was doing, like, Bringing Out the Dead and, like, Cape Fear and Casino and Goodfellas and that kind of shit. A lot of people consider it a sellout era, which I don't think that's fair. I think all Scorsese movies are fairly artistic, even if I don't care for each one of them. You know, like, I don't think, like, I don't love The Departed, or I'm not the biggest Wolf of Wall Street guy either. I'm more I really like his early stuff, like Mean Streets, that one's pretty good. Taxi Driver, obviously, you know, no doubt about that. King of Comedy, After Hours, man. I also watched like his latest stuff, like Killers of the Flower Moon. That's a good movie. I don't think it's the best Leonardo, and he's a pretty big part of the movie. He's kind of the main character. Lily Gladstone is obviously like wonderful, and I like her. She's good in the Kelly Reichardt movies. By the way, if you haven't watched Certain Women or what's the other one? First Cow by Kelly Reichardt. Hey, get on that. They're pretty good. Hey, get. Sorry, I don't know why I do the hey. I said I was gonna do Markiplier, so I'm doing the hello every. Oh man. No, but that's good though. Martin Scorsese, man, he's pretty good. Now, don't go in the comments and go like, didn't he sign the Roman Polanski petition? Okay, man. Okay. Alright, you're right. And this shit really kind of takes me back. I think it's very normal for people my age to, like, at some point in their life, like, wanting to be a tuber. Especially those of us that, like, watched YouTube in, like, the early 10s. Where, like, Let's Plays were, like, the biggest thing. Like, me going, dude, Game Grumps, that's so cool. I could do that. And, like, you know, I don't know if that's really still like, much of a thing. I'm sure Game Grumps is still around, right? But, like, that's kind of a dead frontier. Like, I enjoy a long-form video of someone talking. I don't know if I really watch people play games. Somehow it doesn't feel like the right use of my time. Which, you know, it's kind of hypocritical and sort of like a pusher sort of saying, I wouldn't do this shit. But again, like I said, the truck game, this is for me. Not for thee, this is for me. Because I'm the one talking, and I get to decide what I'm looking at. And I could just have, like, been doing this anyway, and you would just hear, like, mild keyboard usage and mouse clicking, and you might not have thought that much about it. But I thought, like, hey, it might be, like, nice background stuff. That was, like, the period where, like, it was the commentary channels using, like, gameplay as background footage to kind of keep you hooked while they just talked about, like, a kid being cringy. That was, like, I guess the last legs of the gameplay on YouTube era. Nah, that's not true. I'm sure the Rad Brad is still, like, playing all the new games. Maybe it's just still going really strong, but I'm not a 12-year-old anymore. I don't know. But I think everyone kind of wanted to do it at some point. Which, like, I don't think is bad. It's sort of like how people wanted to be movie stars or musicians. Obviously, one of them required talent, and the other one maybe not as much. It's not to, like, say everyone is, like, crap for doing Let's Plays. I think, like, the guys from Game Grumps are pretty funny guys. Well, maybe I don't. But I thought at one point that they were pretty funny guys. I'd probably, like, I bet if I met, like, Aaron Hansen, I'd probably laugh. He could probably make, like, my silly ass, like, kind of smile. I just don't think he needs to play, like, Sonic in front of me for me to like it. Maybe I should just do, like videos about, like, me talking about, like, the secret, fucking, the way the Grey Fox is actually about being an artist or something, you know? Do analysis stuff. That would alienate people even more. Or maybe it wouldn't. Maybe that would actually be more interesting than just a blank screen or a truck game where I'm, like, talking about... Maybe I should. Maybe it would be more interesting to present a 10-minute video laying out why I find The Grey Fox starring Richard Farnsworth interesting instead of just going, like, you should watch this thing because the guy who looks like the cowboy in the movie is the great thing, but you probably won't know shit about that. You know what I mean? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Anyway. I'll find out what the hell I want to do with this little project. It's a good bit. I think it's kind of funny. I'll carve out my little niche, and I don't know, stick around, see what happens, and if you like it, let me know. I'd always love to hear a little feedback, a little voice on the other end. Hey, I love that. All right, I'm a very wait station bypass service. I get to go right past that, baby. But do take care.